Hello, everybody. I would like to welcome all of you to our presentation. We talk about Schwingen. This is Swiss wrestling, and we would like to gain insight into the loading on the head, neck, and on the knees. I'm here together today with Fabian Lüthi. Fabian Lüthi is a true expert about strength training, and he did a lot of work not only with skiers and other Olympic sports, but also with Swiss wrestling. And we see later on in this presentation that this is a very important sport in Switzerland. Welcome also, Fabian. Schwingen Swiss wrestling is very famous. It started very early in 1895, and there were two disciplines. Can you talk a little bit about the two disciplines, Fabian, please?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Hello, Silvio. So there are two different competitions. The first one is called Steinstoßen. There, the target is that you throw a stone that is 83.5 kilograms, and you try to throw the stone as far as you can. You see the picture about it. And the athlete that wins is the guy who throws the stone much farthest. So the record in Switzerland is 4.11 meters. So you see that it's a little bit throwing, but not that far. But I would say the most important event of these two is the Schwingen or Swiss wrestling. And this discipline is very famous. Maybe you can go to the next slide so we can have an impression. You see here the arena with these 7 rings in it. And there are 55,000 spectators in the stadium during 2 days. You have 276 athletes who are fighting each other to be the best of it. And the main event have more than 300,000 visitors. And the event is all 3 years. So a little bit background of Swiss wrestling. Interestingly, there is no weight classes. So this means that the athlete could weigh around from 75 to 150 kilograms. Normally, most of the athletes are 90 to 100 kilograms. But of course, it's interesting when a guy who is 80 kilograms fights against a guy who is 120 kilograms. Normally, technically, you have 2 different kinds of actions. One action is the standing action. So you stand each another against, and you try to bring the opponent on the back of the shoulders. And if you reach this, you win the fight and get more points than the loser. On the other side, you can also fight from the floor. So when you are on the floor, you can also try to take the athlete on the back. Normally, you have 6 to 8 fights. In the big events like this, you have 8 fights, 4 fights each day. And at the end of the 2 days, the athlete wins who has the most of the points. Interestingly, also for you, for measuring, you see the ring diameter. This is a huge size. 14 meters and 23 square meters with sawdust. So we see it later that it's interesting to measure in it and with it. But it's interesting because they fight on a surface with sawdust. To fight each another, they have special short wrestling breeches that are designed to take hold at the belt and the hem. And as I told before, the goal is to bring the opponent on the ground in a supine position. Normally, a fight could end in a few seconds, but it can also go till the end of the duration of the fights. Normally, it starts from 5 minutes and go up till 10 minutes. It depends the round that you're fighting. You start with 5 minutes, and at the end, you are at 10 minutes in the fights. 7 and 8. So you can go forward, Silvio. So yeah, you see, this is the end of the competition. On the left side, it's interesting. You see, this is not the money you win in this competition, an animal, and this is a bull. And Silvio, you know the name of the bull?
Yes, I remember the name on the last competition of the bull was Colin, and the value of such an animal in Switzerland is about 30,000 euros.
Yeah, genau. In the middle, you see the winner. It's not the person on the right side. The person on the right side is the federal president of Switzerland. In this picture, you see how important this sport discipline is for Switzerland. And in the middle, you see how massive the athletes could be. You have to fight against them. So it's interesting to see now further on what we can see out of the measurements, Silvio.
Thanks. So we present here some pilot measurements. We had 2 athletes. They were in average size and weight. We had empty force plate. We dig the hole in order to put the force plate underneath the sawdust. The hole was about 60 centimeters in total. We had a foundation based on a wooden plate, and then the force plate on top, and then we used plastic to wrap everything. And on the side walls, we also had a plastic in order to minimize the horizontal ground reaction force from the side. We had a camera system with 14 cameras, and we used the plug and gate model. We had 3 movements we were looking at. The first 2 are standing movements, and the last one is a movement from the floor. Fabian, we go directly into the movies.
So here you see the chords, and you see this is a very explosive movement. So the one guy who is behind make a fast movement on one leg and hip up the opponent and bring him back on the back. A very explosive movement.
Here we were interested on the front knee of the attacker, and we measured the force on the front foot.
Here you see the second one, the Hüfter. You see this is a kind of judo movement. It's a very fast movement in the rotation, and you see you fall from a high directly on the floor.
Here we were interested in the peak impact force of the landing of the opponent, and here of course high loads occur on the trunk.
Here you see the person who try to defend. He's on the floor, and now he tries not to go on the back. This is a very interesting defense action because it's very hard to fight against it, especially in the neck.
And here, of course, we were interested in the ground reaction force on the head. To the results. Here we are going to present the force data on the front leg in the quads, the lift movement, and this was about 2,670 newtons. For the throw, we measured the highest force in this entire study, and they were acting on the trunk, and here we measured 11,500 newtons. On the bridge, the force on the head was similar to what we observed on the front knee, and here we had 2,360 newtons. To the discussion, the observed peak values are within the expected values for the head and for the knee. And this is also in the range what we know from American football, rugby, and these type of sports. The peak force on the back during the landing after the throw, this was very high, and here it's about 10 times the body weight. And here this shows clearly that the sawdust has an influence and can damp a certain amount and absorb a certain amount of energy, but nevertheless a significant amount of load is on the athletes. Limitation, of course, the sawdust is something that's very crucial in this study, and this also makes the entire measurements a little bit difficult, and also the area of the force plate is limited due to the fact that we only have one force plate. At this point, I would like to thank Profisix for providing all the equipment, and it was a great pleasure to work with you. Thank you very much. Do you have a final word, Fabian? Fabian seems to be frozen in the video. I guess he would like to thank you for being here, for listening to us. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thanks. Bye-bye.